So, with the finale on the horizon, I want to make my final judgment as to what I think is going to happen in the last episode of the amazing digital circus. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mex, and I talk about all types of things that basically strike my interest, mostly media related. So, today we're talking about the final theory for the amazing digital circus. Currently, we have, 1 month until the finale comes out, which pretty crazy to think about. I've been following the series since it originally came out back in 2023. Literally saw the very first episode for it. I remember seeing it on my YouTube For You page before it got like all the millions of views and watching it. So it's very cool to see it finally reach its conclusion in a sense. Now, before I get to the actual theory, I do want to discuss three main things very quickly. They're not going to be super long. So you could stay around here just to listen to me discuss these three topics. The three topics are going to be the current drama with the VAs, the theater drama, and then also just my small little snippets of what I think about the writing of the show. Personally, my theories for the final episode aren't going to be super long. Again, with all the information that we have, I'm not going to do like a super long video. But regardless of all of that, if you want to skip past that, Editor Me will tell you the time mark for when you will have to skip over to get to the actual theory. So, Editor Me, put in that time mark right now. Great. So, let's get into it. First one, the drama with the VAs. So, if you didn't know, the Amazing Digital Circus VAs have gone into a bit of a drama. Now, what exactly happened? So, there was a live stream about 7 years ago that had Michael Kovac and then the VA for Zubul and then the actual creator of the show Gooseworks. They were on a live stream together, and there was like a game that was being played, and one of the jokes was that there was a black shirt and it had the word nega on it. So Nega. So it was supposed to be nega for negative, but they laughed at it mainly because it was like, oh my god, it's so funny because it sounds so much like the N-word. And then for basically the rest of the live stream, they just continuously kept saying nega to reference that joke about how that word sounded so much like the N-word. Am I shocked? Not really. I'm just a little bit disappointed. Now, granted, I think this controversy could have been settled way quicker if they didn't try to be kind of a smart aleck about it, like, oh, it was 2 years ago. I mean, it was 7 years ago. It was just a little bit of this. Their apologies were, well, as good as an apology you can make for that situation. But what was really worse is just how the fandom kind of dealt with it, because, you know, there's a lot of black people who are also Amazing Digital Circus fans, and so, of course, we got caught up in the crosshairs. And, you know, there's really nothing worse. Like, I would honestly prefer just be called the N-word, as opposed to when people find a word that sounds similar to the N-word, and so they try to gaslight black people into thinking that they never said it. Like, all of a sudden, whenever they hear when people learn that the black word, the Spanish word for black was Negro, and then they would say Negro, and then you like confront them, and they're just like, no, I'm talking about the color black, you know, from Spanish. Did the same thing when they found out that, I forgot what the word is specifically, but there's a word in Korean that is pronounced nega. Please keep in mind, you put a lot of emphasis on the ne, and then there's no like R sound at the end, it's ga, ne, ga. So, yeah, is it similar? A little, but the way people were pronouncing it, you know damn well they were not pronouncing nega. They were not. But anyway, this could have been easily resolved if they had just made the formal apology, and then Kane's voice actor stepped in and said, you guys, this is like nothing, okay? So what? They found a word that was very similar to a literal racial slur, really funny, and then they continue to make jokes within the contents of saying, oh yeah, it's about like how it sounds like the N-word. That's really funny. Great. Glad that we got that opinion. Anyway, next up is just the movie release date. So with the movie coming out, I will say I'm I want to start off by saying congratulations to Gooseworks, because seeing an indie project get this much attention, so much so that it's able to have its final episode premiere in theaters like across the world, except for the Caribbean and Africa, because no one gives a shit about us. But, you know, seeing it premiere basically all over different continents, very hard to do. Like, it's not something that we have seen happen before, so I do want to congratulate them on that. However, I will say that there are quite a few drawbacks that do happen with this, with the main one being that there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Listen, movies releasing earlier than their actual release date isn't a new thing. It's been going on for years. However, this is the first time where we've had like a situation where basically you're releasing something, especially like the finale of a TV show, like 2 weeks before it's supposed to initially be announced, and then only make it available to a certain amount of fans. Like, that's kind of where I think my issue kind of lies, because it's like, okay, you're gonna wait an addition, because my thing is, if you're able to air the episode 2 weeks early in theaters, why wait the additional 2 weeks to premiere it on the 18th? Why not just bump it up an additional week? Because 2 weeks hoping that no one spoils the Amazing Digital Circus is pretty crazy. And I know someone's gonna say, oh, well, you're just chronically online. And it's really not that. It's like, with how fandom is, especially the Amazing Digital Circus fandom, yeah, they're gonna spoil that thing. They're gonna spoil that thing instantly. I can already see it. I'm already, like, keep in mind, The Devil Wears Prada just came out yesterday. I'm filming this Saturday. Not Amazing Digital Circus. The Devil Wears Prada 2 just came out yesterday. Why am I already seeing spoilers? Literally, entire parts of the film on my TikTok For You page. First thing I saw when I opened TikTok was that. And then like, people don't do spoiler tags anymore, I've realized, especially in fandom spaces. I remember being around for Infinity War and Endgame. Listen, people did not play any games about spoilers back then. Not a single game was played. Not a single one. Nowadays, people will spoil something that hasn't even been out for 24 hours. Exactly what happens with the Amazing Digital Circus. Like, I remember I was just like, sorry, I think I had went on YouTube just quickly after the episode had originally came out, because the episodes come out at 6 p.m. and when the episode came out, I was working until 7 p.m. so I wasn't able to watch the episode. So I'm just scrolling. I went on YouTube Shorts just to like look at some stuff. First thing I see, someone already made a video about the Amazing Digital Circus and their theories. Keep in mind, episode just dropped 30 minutes ago. Which means they just finished watching the live stream, and they didn't even put a single spoiler warning either. That's what really got me. It's like, you just finished watching the live stream less than a few minutes ago. How are you already spoiling this? And you're not even going to put a spoiler tag too. And I know that's exactly what all these young hoes in fandom is about to do. They are going to spoil the fuck out of that. Like, I know people, again, I was surprised by how many people were so defensive when people were just like, yeah, I don't know why they don't just release it an additional week early. I mean, they're already going to be releasing it on the very 1st of June. Why not just up it by 1 week? Hell, they could even just make it the 2nd day. But I mean, I get it. They want it to be like an early release and stuff like that. But still, it kind of leaves like a large portion of the fan base kind of out of the loop, especially fans like me who live somewhere where they're not getting a theater look. If you don't live in like a major city in America, or if you don't like really live in any of like the continents that were chosen, you're screwed. You're literally screwed. Like, and I remember when it first came out, they only made it available to Japan, America, Canada, and I'm pretty sure Mexico. Those are the ones that they had originally used for the theater. And then as more people gave attention to it, and they were just like, well, hey, that kind of leaves out a big portion of the fan base that aren't going to be able to see this early, or at the very least are not going to be spoiled. And I remember telling my friend Luna this as well. You should subscribe to her. I told my friend Luna this as well, and even she agreed too. She was like, yeah, there's no way that they're going to be able to keep that movie from being spoiled. It's going to be spoiled to hell and back. But I was surprised to see people disagree with people who said that. They were just like, well, you guys just have to like stay offline and not be so chronically online. And it's like, I mean, I guess, but it's like I should be able to go online without having to worry about all the spoilers immediately coming out without some type of spoiler warning. But hey, I know how people can be. So let's move on from that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just the writing about the Amazing Digital Circus. Again, I love the Amazing Digital Circus. I think it's a pretty good show, but there are certain drawbacks I do have with it, and one of my main drawbacks is how short the series is. Before y'all started my comments, yes, I know that Gooseworks said that they wanted this show to only be 8 episodes long. Yes, I also know that Gooseworks talked about how she does not like doing filler episodes. However, I will say with the premise that she's using, it would honestly be to her benefit, or at the very least, it would very much help the writing of the show if there were at least 2 filler episodes just to like close in the gaps about additional information, because there's so much that we don't really know about certain characters, and we weren't able to build up certain relationships as well as they could have been built up. Like sometimes Glitch Productions for promotional stuff gives us like some little filler type stuff, but it's like that would work a little bit better in like an actual episode as opposed to just like putting it in an ad. But that's just me personally. Like a few things that I can just list off at the top of my head based off my notes here is, number 1, it would have been really nice to get an expansion on both Zubul and Ragatha with like a nice filler episode, because the thing is, most of the ensemble cast has gotten like an episode dedicated to themselves, and I get it. Jax is the main character, or at least he's like the secondary main character, but at the same time, he got a lot of attention in the last few episodes. And I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing, I'm just saying Ragatha and Zubul have yet to have like an episode where I could say is solely dedicated to them. Zubul gets like an episode or 2 where she gets like a few like longer screen time, but other than that, that's really it. We don't really get a bit more expansion on her, and I really wish we did get more expansion on Zubul. Ragatha, again, has a lot of like tension there, especially when we saw episode 5. I thought that was really going to be a build up to like her lashing out or just dropping the goody girl act, but no, it was kind of like just lackluster. It was like you're kind of like setting up the bricks for this like big emotional conflict, and then there's just like not as much of a payoff at the end. Yes, we got that nice talk with her and Kinger, but I do wish we got a little bit more, especially if we got to explore a little bit more of like what it was like with her mom, because of course we can like see that her mom is like a very touchy subject for her, but I wish we got to like show that more, at the very least got a more in-depth look at what like her childhood and stuff was like, which we just weren't able to really do. Another thing, there were a few like scenes that were interesting to me which I wish was more expansion on, like that one scene in the last episode where Jax is basically just like, you know, the circus was way better before you and Zubul came along.
You know, things were just fine here until you and Zubul came along. Nothing? Okay.
So he's referring to Pomni and Zubul because they were the latest additions to the circus. And I kind of hope that, I'm pretty sure we're going to get expansion on that in the next episode, the final episode. But there's also the whole relationship that he has with Ragatha, because I do feel like his relationship with Ragatha, I don't know, there's something there. Because it's not just regular hatred of like her personality or something. It feels like something more than that. It feels like there's something a lot more deep-seated there. Like there's some blame. There is something deeper as to why he hates Ragatha so much. And I have like a slight theory that it might be because Ragatha might have been the reason Ribbit extracted, but I don't have any concrete evidence for that. That's just a suspicion on my part as to why he might hate Ragatha so much, besides just the whole goody girl nice act. Okay, great. Now that I'm done yapping about all that other bullshit, let's get into the actual theories of the episode. So, before we begin with the theories, I do want to list off just a few things that we did learn in the previous episode, which I think is really integral to figuring out what's going to go on in the final episode of the show. So, number 1, we know that there were 2 AIs that were created by the Kane and Abel company, and Kane consumed the other one to basically gain a bit more intelligence. Next up, Kinger helped with creating Kane. He was involved in the process of creating him and did a played a very huge role in his creation. Number 3, Scratch, the original abstraction, was the head of the project. 4, Kane has been deleted and the circus is now falling apart as of the very end of the episode. We also know that now that now that Kane has been deleted, the characters seem to now be able to curse, and it does make me wonder if other things are now available for them to do now that Kane is gone. 6, Jax is definitely abstracting. That's not something that really happened in the episode, but based off the implications, it's definitely going to happen. And 7, Ribbit backstory. We're definitely going to get a backstory on Ribbit based off of the... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the trailer as well. Based off the trailer, and look at the poster. I'm probably going to use it for my thumbnail, but like, look at the poster. That dude's abstracting. Oh wait, thumbnail. Okay. Anyway, let's get into the actual theories. So, starting off with what I think will happen immediately after is that the gang will be lost at what to do, that now Kane is gone. You know, the entire circus is now dismantling itself. Technically, we don't know how long it's going to take until the entire circus just crumbles apart, but as you can see, it is slowly falling apart, so we're definitely on a bit of a time crunch, and there's a lot of things that Kane kind of held up together within the circus that we now need to take into consideration. So, they will try and find a way out and maybe try and get Kane back because they'll realize, okay, well, we're not able to do anything because without Kane, the main AI, there's nothing that we can really do, especially considering how Kinger lost the laptop. I mean, not the laptop. How not Kane. Let's focus. How Kinger lost the computer that he used to delete Kane in the first place. That's not hard, Max. That's not hard at all. So, keeping that in mind, while doing this, I do think that the abstractions will be escaping from whatever holding cell that Kane was keeping them in, because again, Kane isn't around to keep them at bay, so now they're going to be able to go crazy within the digital circus. After that, I do think that there will be issues with Jax, and just before Jax fully abstracts, we're going to have a flash cut into him and Ribbit and what they did, and then even see Ribbit being abstracted, and then he's gonna abstract. But I do think that just before he abstracts, he might do something to Kinger, mainly because I do think he's going to blame Kinger for why they're in this mess, or why the circus is now being deleted all over them. I'll get back into that a little bit more. So let's see here. Yeah, just before he abstracts, I do think he's gonna shove Kinger down one of those holes. I think just before the abstraction happens, he's mid-abstraction, he just shoves Kinger, and then Kinger gets casted off into the abyss, and now the team is really, really fucked because it's damn it, we lost our hacker, what the hell are we gonna do? After that, I think they're going to try and get Jax back into his senses. He's definitely going to be tripping out because, again, as we can see in the poster, he basically takes up the entire poster. The entire poster. And it's when I saw it, I was a little bit mad. I was a little bit tiffed because it was just again? It's I'm not trying to be that person that's oh, the protagonist is getting too many scenes. But it's a little excessive for a secondary protagonist, right? Right? He's getting more screen time than Pomni at this point. This motherfucker is overtaking the entire fucking portrait. He's not even a main antagonist or a main protagonist. He's secondary to this shit. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm this pretentious asshole, but it's really? He basically he eclipsed basically the entire thing. It's multiple versions of him. It's he's taking it over like a fucking virus. It's a little ridiculous. I digress. Y'all don't jump me in those comments though, because I will delete them. Next up, as for what I think the big reveals are going to be, I have two. The first one is going to be that they're digital copies. I'm sorry, but there is literally no way in hell that their bodies are still out there. There's no way. And I know someone will say, no, it's not digital copies. Yes, it is. It's incredibly bleak. it makes it to the point where there's literally no escape for them besides maybe abstraction, which again, with a series that's based off of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, again, not a direct copy, but when you're using a premise, a base of that story, yeah, you're trying to do some bleak shit. And nothing's more bleak than realizing that there's truthfully no escape but literal death. Nothing more bleak or tragic than that. And I do think that's what's going to happen because, truthfully, I have a bit of concrete evidence as to how I can, like, prove this. And hell, I'll go even bleaker with this, too. Now, this is especially considering the fact that when Ragatha joins the cast, like, as we see in the latest episode, when Ragatha joins originally, she calls out to her friends. So that makes me think that before she put the headset on, she was around people. So she puts the headset on, she's around her friends, and then this digital copy of her gets uploaded into the circus, and that's why she's calling out to her friends. Because again, if it was one of those situations where you put the headset on and you still have your physical body, then, you know, are you saying that basically Ragatha's friends left her slumped over in a chair? Also, I want to add in additionally, which would make this theory even more bleak, is that when Ragatha joins the circus, because when Kinger is doing his hacking thing, the computer actually does show when certain characters got added into the circus. So we see when the original cast, like the first cast that Kinger was a part of during the circus was in, like, what, 1999, 1998? And then we see when Ragatha joined, which was in 2008. Now, based off the characters' accents and everything, it's very obvious to tell that this story is supposed to be based in America. So this would have been during the 2008 recession when a bunch of businesses and homes went into foreclosure because of the economic crisis that was happening. And since we know that Ragatha was a real estate agent, she definitely would have went to the Cain and Abel company to help with selling the property. And it does make me wonder if when she put on that headset, because again, they're making a digital copy of her brain. So think about it like this. To make a digital copy like that, like on that scale, would take a lot out of a machine. It would take a lot out of a person, honestly, trying to make an entire digital scan of your brain. Like, have you ever been in, like, an MRA or an MRI machine? Have you ever gotten a CAT scan? Them shits is loud. And then you have to go through all these different procedures as well, because if you have any type of metal or anything, that's gonna get your ass. That is absolutely gonna get your ass. So it kind of does make me think, could putting on the headset also affect your physical body, where because of the scanning process, it, like, kills your physical body? I told you guys I was gonna go bleaker with this, and that's me going bleaker. Like, it would kind of make sense, because as we know, based on Pomni's investigation, the factory, the business of Cain and Abel has been abandoned for quite some time, which makes me think to myself, a sale did not go through. And why might a sale not have gone through? Maybe because a real estate agent who was supposed to help them sell the property put on one of their technological advancements and got herself killed. But then again, I guess that wouldn't make too much sense about the whole dead bodies thing, because then someone set up the bodies. So maybe it's just the regular scan, because I have to remember that Gangle, Zubul, and Jax also put on that headset, which I'm assuming would have been after the business got closed down, because I'm pretty sure the story takes place in, what, 2017, 2018? So somewhere along that timeline, Jax, Ribbit, and Kafo must have joined in at some point. After that, there would be there would be Gangle, and then there would be Zubul. So it's like, okay, the timeline for that is tricky. If the business did get sold, it kind of makes me wonder, how abandoned was it? Like, was it like, oh, it has all these, like, weeds and plants and everything? Or was it just, like, a recently abandoned building where it's still kind of, like, decent, but it's abandoned? Regardless, it's going to be at digital copies. There's literally no other theory that can make sense as to how they're trapped in there, but digital copies. It's also pretty bleak as well, so it matches. And then, second theory, we're going to find out that Scratch originally made the AI to live forever. I feel like this is incredibly obvious to anyone who's paying attention. Literally, like, it's super obvious. it's super fucking obvious that Scratch created this to live forever. Why do I think that? Because King R quite literally says when he's explaining how he worked for Cain and Abel that Scratch, again, head director of it all, was on a different playing field than everybody else, and that he was thinking about something else, but nobody really knew what he was thinking about when it came to the AI. And considering the fact how Kinger also mentioned that Scratch had a tumor.
Bizarre and abstract that the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or the tumor in his head. He was trying to make something. What was it? I'm getting off track. Was there any...
Yeah, I think we can all make the assumption that it was to live forever. I mean, come on. The head director of a creative AI where you cannot die in it no matter how hard you hold your breath or stab yourself or put a gun to your head. You stay alive. And he has a tumor. Just make it a bit more obvious, honestly. Like, it's super obvious. Like, I'm sorry, if I'm wrong, I'd actually be shocked. Because the foreshadowing is it even a shadow at this point? Like, honestly, it's just kind of like in the sunlight a little bit. Like, it's not even a shadow. It's just there. It's like really obvious. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that in like, it's obvious. Head director of an AI where you can't die. Head director has a tumor that could kill him. Head director makes an AI so that he can live forever. It's the oldest science fiction plot in the fucking book. The oldest. In fact, shit, they try to do it today too. How many fucking billionaires are trying to like upload their consciousness into the fucking digital sphere? Let them do it, I guess. They'll find out that it's not gonna work how they want it to. It's whatever. I'm not the one that got the money to do that. So after those two big reveals, I do think that the characters are going to come to a turn with this grim reality that they're basically trapped within the circus forever, and this could all end with them basically accepting their lives in the digital circus, or it could kind of end in the I have the mouth and I must scream way, which is basically mass murder or mass abstraction in this case. But yeah, those are my theories. So, main theories. I do kind of have an inkling of a suspicion that Ragtha might have been the reason that Ribbit abstracted. Again, nothing concrete on that. If I'm right, I'd actually be really surprised on that. Again, digital copies. The big reveal is going to be that they're digital copies. I really don't think that there's any other way of working around that but the digital copies theory. Next up, Scratch is going to use the AI to live forever, and then he never realized that there would be so many complications because no one ever thinks that hard, I guess. And then finally, the series is going to end with either all the characters accepting their reality of living within the digital circus, or they're all going to try and... Well, that was great, everybody. I'm so excited to see where everything leads. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I'm glad to have finally made this video. I was having such a hard time making this video because my life has been fucking chaotic as shit. My fridge broke again. And then my freezer also, like, we have a deep freezer, like a separate freezer, not the one attached to the fridge. The one attached to the fridge is actually working pretty okay, so we're able to use that. But the top level of the fridge, not working. Don't know why. And then, funnily enough, the repair guy actually came in yesterday to come and fix it. And they got the wrong part. They ordered the wrong part for the fridge, which I don't really understand how you managed to do that, but they did. So we still don't have a fridge, and so we're having to spend extra money buying food out because, again, we don't have a fridge, which means we can't really cook a lot of stuff because, again, we don't have a fridge. So I'm spending additional money that I'm supposed to be using to save for university, but I gotta spend it so I can eat. Then it seems like our freezer is about to go kaput because we had so many power outages the past 2 weeks, and I want to say it's because of everything that's going on in Iran, but it's not, because guess what? It's always been like this, even before the whole oil crisis was happening, which I really hope gets resolved. That's also stressing me the fuck out. But I really do hope that this all gets resolved. But it's like, it's crazy. This has been happening since before that whole thing happened, and it's just gotten even worse. Like, we lost power for seven times. We lost power 7 times in a day. Do you hear how crazy that is? 7 power outages in a day. No wonder so many of our appliances are like going to shit right now. Like, they're just going kaput because, again, when you're constantly having all of these electrical surges, it's gonna fuck up your shit. Thursday, we had an island-wide power outage that lasted from 9:30 all the way until 6 o'clock. That's 8 hours. almost 9 hours without power. Like, I wasn't able to work or do anything because we don't have a supervisor in office, so we're working from home. Don't even get me started on my job. All of a sudden, my job wants us to come into office while there's a whole fucking oil crisis happening. And then when we brought it up with our supervisor, like, there was a whole meeting about it because they made this whole new change, which is why we have to work in office, about some bullshit credit. And I'm sorry about ranting so much. You can already end the video here. Please like and subscribe, because if you do subscribe, if I get 15,000 subscribers before I finish my book, you guys get to pick what cosplay I wear for my author photo. Hooray, incentivization. Anywho, that's what I was saying about my fuck-ass job. These people don't know what the fuck they're doing. I think that can be said for a vast majority of jobs, but especially for this job. I mean, seriously, what the fuck are they doing? I don't understand their thought process. They implement this new system when it comes to credits. Keep in mind, we're barely getting credits as is because most people are struggling because of everything going on. Hell, there was a fucking government shutdown. A partial one, but one nonetheless, which affected people being able to pay their mortgages. So most of the calls we were getting were people who were trying to get assistance for their homes and not pay their actual mortgage. So we're not getting credits. Like, for January up until March, I was barely getting credits. Hell, my last check for the credits that I got, $75. That's how much I got from credits in March. It's utterly ridiculous. Like, and then they based it off of those previous scores and not like newer scores, which doesn't make any sense to me. How do you implement something as of April? As of April. And then you don't even give it the full month. Like, they didn't even just wait until April was over. They were just like, yeah, we're going to use all of your previous credit records from March until January. And then we're basically just going to fuck off. Like, it pisses me off. Like, it actually, like, pisses me off a little bit. Because it's like, you pick the worst time to do this. Like, the actual worst time to do something like this. Like, during a fucking oil crisis where a gallon of gas is like going up to almost $5, and you want to now have everybody go in office. And then someone brought this up. They were just like, listen, I get it, you guys want to start this new policy, but is there any way you guys could wait to do this until after all this like conflict is resolved and gas starts getting a little bit cheaper? Because it's super expensive to drive from your home to work, especially considering the fact that we were all allowed to work from home before, and now because of this bullshit rule that you're deciding to apply immediately instead of waiting at least for a bunch of new credit scores. It's like, my issue isn't even just the credit score thing. I get it to an extent, but it's like, number one, you never base it off credits before in the first place. You base it off of how long we've been working at the company, and if we show based off our scores that we're able to work from home. That's how they used to do it. Now you want to change it and make it entirely credit based, which makes no goddamn sense at all, because it's really just a matter of luck. It's a call center. You get whatever person you get. Either you're lucky and you get a bunch of people who want to pay their bill, or you're unlucky and you get no people who want to pay their bill. What do you want us to do about that? How are we supposed to incentivize that? And then they make it harder and harder for people to make payments. Now, instead of being able to make one payment if you're due for 3, now you have to make 2. How am I supposed to get credits if you're making it harder for the people to pay? It don't make no sense. That's enough ranting about work. But yeah, my life has been really, really stressful. Really, really stressful. So I'm hoping that things get better. Hopefully our freezer hasn't decided to die on us, which honestly it probably has, because again, I'm surprised that it managed to last this long from so many power outages. Just so many. It was a lot. So yeah, that's, I guess, not basically everything. I do have a little favor to ask you. If you manage to stay this long, if you have managed to stay this long, thank you. You have the patience of a saint. Or maybe you're just really nosy and like hearing about other people's lives. But like I said before, I want to write a book. And I'm trying to do that right now. And when I thought about these characters, here they are. Aren't they interesting? Just want to know more about them. Yeah, I bet you do. So when I thought about these characters, there were a lot of different concepts that went through my head. Just a few to list off. A priest that makes a deal with a fae. A priest running away from fate. A fae king who's at war with humans, and there is a priest that's there for peace talks. There was also a concept of the priest, the main character, the black guy that I showed. The priest basically marrying a fae, relinquishing his humanity, and then trying to find it again. There are a lot of different concepts that I had for the story, and so I'm deciding to release concepts of it so that I can kind of like get my hand together into like how I want to portray the characters. So I have officially released the first chapter of one of my concepts. It's on AO3. I would really appreciate it if you would read it. Give me your thoughts. Don't be too hard on the grammar. I don't really have a grammar checker, and all of the grammar checkers nowadays are shitty because they all use AI. And the AI is shit. Anywho, that's it. I'd really appreciate it if, because you guys like and support my content anyway. A bunch of you are still liking a video that I made 2 years ago. I made that I Love Atsushi video 2 years ago. How are you guys still liking it? But I'm glad that you do. Anywho, I love saying anywho, don't I? Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. Please read the chapter of my concepts and maybe even subscribe so that you can see all the different concepts play out before I start officially writing the actual book. And if you want to know what the actual premise of the book is, the best way I can describe it is, imagine an arranged marriage, but neither of the people want to get married, and so they try to kill each other to get out of it. Great. Bye, guys. See you next time. Oh, and I also have a gaming channel as well. I'm playing Honkai Star Rail, or at the very least, I'm going back to reading Honkai Star Rail. I had originally started playing it, but then I stopped. So I'm replaying the game. So by the time I release this video, the Honkai Star Rail playthrough should be out. So I'll have that link in my description as well. Also, the concepts will also be linked in my description. So, thank you again.